Hey, blessings everyone. I am Elegant Champagne, founder of Abstract Thoughts of a Transition Mind, and also VP of Minds Up with none other than the famous Takia Diamond. So, it was a message that hit me earlier this morning, and I guess I can say it was more so of a controversial type of message, also filled with criticism. And I wouldn't necessarily say it was constructive criticism because I'm very specific when I speak about people talking about criticism. You have regular criticism when people just want to critique you on certain things, and then you have constructive criticism, which is to help build you in those areas that may need work on. So, one of the things that really hit me was being accused of being a copycat or something to that nature. And I just wanted to just inform. Anytime you start to see yourself progressing and you start to actually feel it and build that momentum to be successful, you are going to come across people that may try to either uplift you to help you do better. You're going to have people that are going to tear you down because that's just what they desire to do. And then you have some people who are just there to observe and to analyze. So what I've come to actually see is this morning I've come across that realm and the nature of this familiar spirit, which is also known as the Accuser of the Brotheren. That's a name, for those of you who may not know, that the enemy has. Satan, Lucifer, the Accuser of the Brotheren is what form he took on today. And what I've learned is, if the enemy cannot get you one way, he will try another way. But one thing about the enemy, he can be very predictable, but it all depends on your response to what you're able to see the enemy getting ready to do or what he's actually already in process of doing. So this morning, the enemy tried the tactic of accusing and attacking the works in which I've been successfully establishing recently with the whole organization that I have of Abstract Thoughts, and also working hand in hand with Takia Diamond for Minds Up. It got to the point where I really started to just hear these keywords: division, separation, envy, jealousy, and those are the 5 right there. If the enemy cannot get to you directly, he will try to use those closest to you, or maybe not always be the ones closest to you, but someone or some people who has access to you. So when I actually was able to really look and analyze this, I'm like, there must be something I'm doing right for the enemy to really try to take this approach right now at this particular time to attack me by accusing me of copying. One thing about me and this whole thing with Abstract Thoughts of a Transition Mind, I speak strongly and educate people in the realm of talking about the elements. Now, what are elements? What is an element? Scientifically, an element is the building block of matter. It's also known as the simplest form of a substance. No matter how far you break it down to its simplest form, it's considered an element. So there's going to be things in this world when you happen to take an element and utilize it, you're going to see certain characteristics, you're going to see certain traits from other things that may resonate with you, or you may have seen that, I've heard this somewhere, or I've seen this somewhere, or I felt this feeling from somewhere. And what's an example of that is, scientifically, you look at the periodic table of elements. And the first element that's on there, and the first group, in fact, it's its own group. It's the letter H, that represents the hydrogen atom. The hydrogen atom is the first element on a periodic table of elements. It's the first group, and it's in a group of its own. Other groups can have 5, 10, 6, 2 different elements, but this one has only one element, which is itself, and it's its own group, its own classification. And this element, you see it everywhere you look, just about. Anything that consists of a liquid, it consists of a hydrogen atom. Why? Where do you get that from? You look at water. Hydrogen and oxygen. So when you look at that, H2O, that's known as water. What is your body composed of mostly? 70% of water. What is this earth mostly comprised of? 70% of water. What is the universe and everything that we see mostly comprised of? Hydrogen. Water is also an element that is known as the element of life. It's an element that gives life. So whether a person's dehydrated and they're looking to quench their thirst so they don't die, what do you use? You give them water, or you give them a liquid that's consumable, which consists of a hydrogen atom. When a plant is dying, there's a number of ways and a number of things that can cause it to die or wither away or become sick, and that's lack of nutrition, or it's dehydrated. It doesn't have enough water. Water is known to transport. Water has many different states and forms that it takes on, such as a liquid, a solid, and a gas. Many of you are familiar with that. But water transitions depending on what the circumstance is, what's applied to it, or what it's being applied to. So, by having this understanding about this particular element, there's certain organizations, businesses, structures that you cannot avoid utilizing certain elements. When it comes to writing a book, there's certain structures and formats, or also known as elements, that you would utilize and follow after, so that way you can have a successful book. Whether it be a dictionary, an encyclopedia, it can be a comic book, it could be a newspaper, it can be a manga. For those of you who watch cartoons or animes, they have a manga, which is the paper version of that particular cartoon or anime. So it has a set structure that it follows. Even when it comes to music, music has elements that it follows. What is music without the element of sound? What is culinary arts without the element of cooking, of food, ingredients? It has to have certain substances, certain elements, in order for it to work. Many of you may have heard the term, why reinvent the wheel? It works. There's certain models, whether it's role models, leaders, or any person in position that has the gift or the ability or proof that what they do works, then you utilize that structure. You utilize that formula. Another example too, I'm giving you guys a lot of different examples so you can understand what I mean about elements, the simplest form. No matter how far you break it down, it will always remain the same when you look at it. You look at a human being human. What do we consist of that every human being has? We all have a skeleton, which consists of bones. We all have skin. We all have fleshy meat and fat. We all have a brain. Some people may not utilize it properly, but at the end of the day, we all have a brain. And we all have thoughts that come to our mind. These are things that no matter who you are, we all consist of these things. Now, what you do inside this body, what you do with those words, what you do with that pen, what you do with that food or those ingredients, that liquid, is up to you, that defines what you represent, who you serve, and what is your sole purpose. For me, my whole movement, and I won't even call it a movement, my sole purpose, one of my sole purposes here on earth is to help teach and educate others of things that are outside of the norm and things that most people may have overlooked or may have not had as much education to analyze or break certain things down. God has given me a gift to break certain things down to its simplest form, to help people identify where this remains and where this should go. So it was something kind of, I have to admit, it was a very petty of a message that was relayed to me, not coming from the person directly that delivered me the message, but the person that delivered them the message that came to me. Anytime the enemy sees you doing something positive that could bring about change, to impact the world and the lives and the generation of people that are around us, to progress, to reach and achieve success, the enemy knows what to do, and the main thing he does is to divide. The enemy loves to divide, especially when you have a team or you happen to be in a relationship and people, from my personal experience, see you as a power couple. You have people that acknowledge what you do. You have people that just like to observe. You have people that may be jealous. You have people that may envy. And you have people that just want attention. Whether that attention be bad or good, at the end of the day, they're just seeking attention. That's the element that they're looking to fulfill, is the element of attention. And sometimes they may not be aware of what they're doing when they're doing that, because sometimes they may just be influenced by accusing and not even knowing why. It just may be so natural to them to accuse them and view it from their perception, but their perception isn't always correct. Doesn't make it your reality, is which my queen, Takia, which she would say. And I've learned a lot from her, from seeing that particular side of things. Whenever the enemy tries to utilize something to tear you down, if you are a man, woman, child of God, you serve the Most High, the Almighty, the Aaww, which means I am that I am in Hebrew, which is God. I am whatever I need to be unto them. When you serve Him, no matter what the enemy does, God always has something that the enemy will use for bad to work out for your good. And what this has done was just push me and motivated me to make me do even more. So I just want to give a big thank you to you and let you know. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for sharing the information that you relayed to be relayed to me. Thank you for letting me know that you are watching and you are observing and that you see something great happening. I want to thank you. I really just want those of you who may have experienced things similar to really just take a moment and really analyze. And if you happen to have given up at that point in time when that message was said to you, or those words was said to you, pick up where you left off. Especially if you're doing something that's positive. Pick up where you left off. As time goes on, things will change, right? As Tony Robbins mentioned, change is automatic. There's nothing you have to do to really create change. But standards is something that you have to have a focus, and you have to make a decision with that focus. When you have a standard, you have a thermostat, which Tony Robbins would say, and you set high. You want to make sure you set it high so you can reach that. And when you reach that height, when your thermostat reaches all the way up, then you raise it even more. There may be people in your circle of friends or associates that you have around you where they may have a higher goal than you, or they may have a higher set standard than you. If you happen to have those people in your group, really observe what is it that they're doing to achieve their level of success. Don't hate on them. Find out what it is that they're actually doing that's creating this success. And those that are sincere about bringing about positive change and also helping people raise their standards to become successful, they will have no problem helping assist you to achieve that level of success and to even surpass that level of success. One of the things that was mentioned was, do you not see that he's copying you? They went down to the point of them talking about the color of a logo that God placed inside of my heart, my mind, and to have manifested into the physical. The logo that I have for abstract thoughts of a transition mind, which is the blue around it, which is a sphere with the 3 heads in it. And inside of the heads, there's a brain that represents the mind. One of the minds is in the form of a digital file, digital circuits that you look at. If you were to open up the back of your cell phone case or your computer, you'll see these little lines that go up, down, zigzags with little circles in there. That's a pathway for the energy to be able to travel through to reach another sector, to another sector, to deliver information and messages to allow that particular function of that device to work properly. That's how the mind works. The computer is an imitation of how the mind works. The other brain that I have, inside of the head, you'll notice where the blue is at, it's a grid, it's a table, it's the periodic table of elements. When you really look into it, you'll see that. And the same thing for the side where the third head, which has the red version of the periodic table of elements. Why did I choose to have a head? Well, wherever the head goes, the rest of the body follows. God has called me and us that are his children, his friends, to be the head and not the tail, to be above and not beneath. My belief and my relationship with God, he's taught me about the Trinity. You may not see the word Trinity in scriptures, but it's a English terminology that we utilize to represent 3. The 3 heads for me represents God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Those 3 work as one. What is that in relation to? We have a mind, we have a body, and we have a soul. These 3 things create who we are. 3 equaling 1. You have a name. Without a name, you would not exist in society according to the documented files. You don't exist if you don't have a name to be established. If you do not have a physical body here on earth, your spirit is considered naked, and therefore you cannot perform certain tasks in this world, such as picking up this pen in my pocket, pressing it or uncapping it so you can write, to fulfill a task, to document something, to deliver a message, to deliver a message in audio form, to deliver a message in a physical form for you to physically see with your eyes, to deliver a Morse code by just simply tapping or feeling with Braille. These are ways that we use to communicate with the physical body that we have. Without a soul, what identity would your body have besides its name? Besides being called human being? What would you have that represents that? Your soul consists of your mind, your will, your characteristics. Who you are in essence is what your soul shows. These are all things that you can find in Scripture when you read the book of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You go down, and he said, let us create man in our image, physical being, and after our likeness, characteristics. Characteristics would be the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. All of those things are characteristics, likeness, being like unto him. In New Testament, it tells you to be imitators of Christ, Christ-like. You follow the model, him being a role model to us, to live a life of peace, love, harmony, tranquility, serenity, to uplift one another, hold accountability, to bring edification to others, to bring correction to others. You have some people in this world that are meant to be warriors and soldiers. You have some people in this world that are meant to be the nurses and doctors. You have others that are meant to be the scholars. But you also have others in this world that are called to teach, to speak, to preach. Book of Corinthians. It tells you that God has given us many gifts, but they all come from the same source, which is God. To some, he's given the gift of prophecy, a prophetic gift to speak. Just because you have a prophetic gift does not make you a prophet or a prophetess. Just because you have the gift and the ability to preach does not mean that you are called to be a preacher or for you to be preaching and opening up your own church. You may have the knowledge to be a scholar, to educate others. That does not mean for you to pick up a scalpel and start performing surgery on a person because you have the knowledge of that. It's more than you just having the knowledge of that. It requires for you to have a certain skill, and a skill is something that is developed, something that you have to learn, something that you have to perfect, and you constantly have to remain in practice with for you to perform certain tasks to save a life with that scalpel, to learn where to put that specific incision. But if your hands are shaky, if your focus or your eyesight isn't keen, you cannot go performing the surgery. You may be able to direct and tell a person how to do it, but that does not mean for you to actually do it yourself. So therefore, you are meant to educate others on how to save a life, how to perform certain tasks. I can go on and on of giving you guys examples, but there are certain things that you just can't avoid. You can drink a liquid without you having hydrogen. You can't have water without having hydrogen. You can't have a book without having words or pictures, illustration, or pages. You can't have a physical paper book without those things. Those things are necessary for you to have a book. You cannot write a book without understanding there's a format of you have to have sentences, paragraphs, commas, periods, question marks, exclamation points, other forms of punctuation. You cannot have a book without having that, because then it won't really be considered a book. It would just be known of something that holds alphabets. There's no structure to it. These are things that imitate. When you have an element, you're going to see these things. For those that mentioned to have a message relayed to me, with me having the color blue for the whole logo that I have for my organization of Abstract Thoughts. Blue is the color when we look into the sky, right? Why? We're looking at it from a zoomed out view of the hydrogen molecule, the hydrogen atom. That's what color it is when you look at it from a distance, combined with other ones. Blue is the color of the ocean when we look at the ocean, because it consists of the hydrogen atom, the element. Blue is also known as a calm color. It calms a person and it puts them in a state of calmness, tranquility, peace. Blue is also known as a color that represents transition. Blue can be looked at as purity as well. Those are the characteristics, and those are the things that come along with the color blue. So therefore, it's something that exists in the universe, that God has placed in the universe for all of us to be able to utilize to be successful with. The mind, the brain, is something that is in existence in the universe that God has placed there for us to be able to utilize to perform certain functions and tasks to empower other people. You may not even realize it or recognize it, but the fact that you were able to identify that I utilize a color that happens to be the same color with my queen, with Takia, with the movement of Minds Up. It goes to show you how in sync all of us are, whether we want to admit it or not. Subconsciously, we are aware of that. That's why you were able to pick up and see and identify, she uses blue, he uses blue. Wow. It makes perfect sense. Blue is a color of calmness, peace, tranquility, transition. We both speak about transition. She speaks strictly dealing with the mind and the characteristics of the mind and programming. I admire Takia for that so much because it's taught me so much as well. I speak on the elements, from the periodic table of elements, cooking, music, to the elements of earth, wind, fire, air, element of words. I speak on elements. I love to break down things to show people where it leads, where it came from, the origin of it. When people are able to identify the seed, when you can identify the seed, you can see what it is called to be. You have foresight. You can see the possibilities in which it has. So God has placed me here on this earth as a seed that grows into a tree of transition to help others transition from a negative lifestyle to a positive lifestyle. Takia has been planted in this earth to show people how to transition from a negative lifestyle with experience to a positive lifestyle with experience. Whether it's being utilized through filming, through music, through a book, through speaking, through events. This is what I have been called to do. This is what she has been called to do. When God created Adam, notice, he could have very well created Adam and replicated the same format by creating Eve that same exact way. By creating Eve, woman, from the clay and the dust of the earth. God didn't do that. He put Adam in a deep sleep, and he took from Adam. He took the rib of Adam, a part of him, something that is already in existence. He took the rib, and he created his help. That's what God created for Adam, his help. God saw that Adam was lonely, and he also desired help, and he created Eve. They complemented one another. That's exactly what they did. They complement one another. Takia compliments me. I compliment Takia. She touches topics that I'm not a professional in. I compliment in such topics that she may not be a professional in, or that just may not be her field. She may actually have the knowledge of it, but that's what she chooses to do, is deal strictly with the mind. I deal with all of it. She's more focused and keen when it comes to how the mind works. I'm more focused and keen of utilizing the elements and showing you how they work, from the build up to the breakdown. I have a passion, and I'm unapologetic for doing what I'm doing. I really just want to encourage all of you that are out there. There's people that are going to envy you. There's people that are going to be jealous of you, whether that be the work that you're doing, whether it be a job, the car that you're driving, the relationship that you're in, the person you're in a relationship with, your family, the phone that you have, the clothes that you wear, the words that you use, the education that you have. the hair that you have. Come on, it's amazing. From the sex and gender has nothing to play with it. There's negativity in just about everything that you can look at, and there's positivity in just about everything that you look at. A lie cannot exist without the truth. What is the truth without the lie? It shows nothing that it can oppose of. They need each other. They coexist. What is fire without light? When fire is created, it generates light. It's an energy. Energy, when it's focused a certain way, it creates light. It creates a feeling. It creates temperature. This is how water operates as well. When water is in a liquid state, it can be used to transport. When water is in a solid state, that's known when it reaches its freezing point. It's a solid state. It's used usually to cool down or to keep something at a cold temperature. When water gets too hot and it begins to go from a solid of a freezing state to a boiling liquid state, once it reaches a certain point, it transitions into a gaseous state where its molecules expand. But then when enough of them meet back together and condense, they take on the state in the form of a liquid again. And then it falls back down to the surface. So when it comes to you being successful in life, know that you're going to have to learn certain characteristics and certain elements for you to reach and obtain certain levels of your success. Don't allow the enemy, the accuser of the brethren, to take you away and steer you away and cause you to detour or stop doing what you are called to do to fulfill your purpose. Don't allow the enemy to stop you from bringing about positive change in this world. When it comes to relationships, don't ever allow the enemy, especially if you're a powerful, impacting couple, don't ever allow the enemy to try to say one thing in one ear to one and try to cause division or miscommunication or distance with the other that compliments you. The enemy does not have the victory. The enemy cannot and will not be successful in that. All the enemy is doing is creating more fuel to push even harder. To be like, you know what? There's a reason why I am here. There's a reason why God has called me to do this. There's a reason why God has told me to attack and tackle this situation. Not the people, but the situation. This familiar spirit that is there, that is being executed. Don't allow yourself to be a vessel of the enemy without you even recognizing it. I'm letting you know and I'm informing you. Don't be a vessel of the enemy to tear down something that is positive. Just because it looks alike doesn't mean it's the same thing. And I mean this in a good way. The only thing that is the same is touching and reaching the lives of other people to bring about change and helping others raise their standards to become more successful, to not live on a fear basis. It was fear that kept me back for so long to not do what I am doing now. From ministry to my nonprofit that I have, to the events that are going on, to my published books. It's something that resonates with me to be achieving more things in this life and not being comfortable and stagnant with satisfied with the regular 9-to-5 jobs. To each their own. It takes people to run a business. Some people are going to have to and are called to do a 9-to-5. But me, I refuse to allow myself to stay stagnant and not to progress even further. If they can have it, why can't I? If it works for them, it can work for me. It can work for you as well. Just be inspired. Don't allow yourself to be torn down. Be inspired by those that hate on you. Some may say they're secret admirers. Hey, whether admiring or not, don't allow them to deter you from that. Thank you for envying. Thank you for being jealous. Thank you for being a secret admirer, a secret hater. Thank you for being who you are, if that's who you really believe that you are. I personally don't believe that's who you are. But depending on certain circumstances and situations in your life, that may be who you may feel that you are at this point in a given time. So if that's the case, by all means, until you reach that transitional state, then there's nothing that can really be done about that. I'm going to keep living my life and performing the things in which God has called me to do, being positive and establishing more and more and more in a successful manner. I'm going to keep doing that. I feel good about what I do. I feel good about what my queen, Takia Diamond, does. I feel good about what she does and how she inspires the lives of other people. She inspired me. Minds Up inspired me to overcome that fear, because it was fear, as I mentioned, that was holding me back from doing what I am doing now. If I was to listen to people like you that are out there that try to criticize me or say a copycat or whatever you want to call it, then that would not be where I am now, which is becoming more and more successful. The wheel's not broke. Don't reinvent it. It's just the life of an entrepreneur and a life of success. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in, and just always remember these points. On the road and path to success, you will come across those that will envy you, that may become jealous of you, that may hate on you. But at the end of the day, all they're doing is seeking attention. They just need their attention to be satisfied in some way, form, or fashion, whether that be in a positive way or a negative way. At the end of the day, it's just attention that's being fulfilled in which they are doing. They don't recognize it. But if you do, it's not too late for you to change. I will continue to compliment what Takia Diamond is doing with Minds Up, and I will continue to support and be vice president, VP of it, whatever you want to call it. I will continue to support that, as well as her continuing to support what I am doing, and has really gotten me to where I am with her assistance, with helping me. I'm not ashamed of that. She's helped me a lot. Takia has helped me so much in overcoming certain obstacles. Certain things she couldn't help me, I had to overcome them myself. But that's a part of life. You have to be able to overcome certain obstacles when it comes to that, especially when you're trying to achieve success. I would never tear her down. She would never tear me down. I will look out for her. She would look out for me. She's going to keep writing books. I'm going to keep writing books. She's going to keep on speaking. I'm going to keep on speaking. She does ministry. What she's doing, it's considered ministry. I am going to continue to do ministry. She utilizes music to speak and teach and change the lives of other people in a positive way. I utilize music. I produce, compose, and conduct. I play keyboard. I play piano. It's soothing. It's relaxing. There's certain things that you cannot get across to people just through words alone, where sound is needed and it's necessary for you to be able to help relay a message. It's soothing. Some people need to hear that big sister voice that Takia has when it comes to checking people right there on the spot, so they can snap out of it, that she would always tell you to snap out of that stuff. That's her phrase. She would tell you to snap out of it in a heartbeat. If you're not ready for success, don't waste your time trying to go after something if you're not ready for it. I had to get past that. I had to become ready for it and put myself in position to be ready to what's coming my way. And more is coming my way, and I'm happy for it. I'm enjoying this. And I pray that you guys enjoy it as well. You guys are awesome. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everyone that did tune in. I love you guys so much. And I just want to say, continue to progress. Continue to be you and continue to be authentic. Shout out to Alpha Talk. Shout out to Scholar Media. Shout out to Minds Up, none other than Takia Diamond. Shout out to Dr. Love Jones. Shout out to all those Champagne Entertainment. Shout out to 8 Squad Rebel Radio. Shout out to all of you that are doing great things for the community, that are doing great things in this world. I look forward to working and building with you guys even more and more. You guys have been an awesome support. And I have to give a big shout out to all my family and friends that are there, that believe in me, that are seeing what I am doing. I want to give a big, great shout out to none other than the Almighty God, the creator of the universe, the one that has sent me here to fulfill my purpose, to walk in the steps. I want to thank you guys very much. Blessings to you all. And this is a moment with Elegant Champagne, the In My Element or Elemental Keys series. Call it what you want. But this is Abstract Thoughts of a Transitioned Mind. Blessings.